Hey everybody, this is Brian Yellow. Number 20, Origin, Stories on Creativity. I had the distinct pleasure of talking with Kerry Glaumsch. He is a professor of acting and writing. He holds an MFA in creative writing and directing. He has taught theater and writing workshops all around the world. He has a distinct way of looking at the world. And there's nobody better than him in explaining it. I will let him do so. His contact information, of course, is going to be in the show notes. So here's Kerry Glaumsch.
I'm moving today, so I'm kind of in a flux here.
Where are you moving from?
Well, I'm talking to you from South Palm Beach, Florida, and I'm driving over to Tampa today, and then I'm flying to California Friday. Going to be out there for a month, driving back to Tampa, house sitting for a friend in St. Petersburg for a month, and then coming back to South Florida. But I've put all my stuff.
You move a lot.
I do. Yeah.
How come? Is it just the nature of being a college professor, or do you actually enjoy feet?
Well, I get. My brother used to say that I get itchy, but I don't know. I tend to just get bored in one place. And
Do you?
yeah.
Do you Tampa as a place to basically go back to, or do you have a favorite place in the travels that you've gone through?
Well, I'm feeling a little rootless and homeless nowadays because my brother passed away a year ago, and
Oh
he was in
no.
Tampa. Yeah, and I have a mother in a nursing home there, and she's fading slowly away. So I would say that a lot of my really good friends still live in the Tampa Bay area, but I also have really good friends all over the country, all over the world right now.
Is your mom the last member of your family of origin, so to speak?
Pretty much, yeah,
Oh, that's tough.
yeah.
Right then, you're a leaf in the wind, or
I don't know what I am, Josh. Really.
I don't want to get too personal. It's just I always found it interesting because I have followed your travels, and it's always been, mystical to me. You've gone to New Zealand to basically witness from your blog to, was it Romania, but Romania, correct?
Yeah, I was teaching on a Fulbright in Romania in Craiova.
How did that work exactly as somebody who speaks English going over there and having that language issue?
It was great. I was teaching at Craiova University. I was in the English department teaching grad students, and so they all spoke English, and everybody wanted to speak English, and so yeah, it was all right. I mean, Romanians mostly speak English. Younger people do.
Oh, okay. And were you, in the grad department, was it a writing fellowship or was it literature?
It was just the English department. What was strange is I thought that I was going over to work for the theater department, and
Uh-huh.
then it turned out that I was teaching for the English department. I was teaching a contemporary British and American theater course, a screenwriting course, conversational English, and then a bunch of students got together and asked if I would be willing to teach them an acting course after school in the evenings, and they found a space, an auditorium at a high school. So I started teaching acting classes.
And you found yourself at home at point. You
I'm sorry?
primarily are an acting teacher.
Well, right now it seems that way, yeah. Yeah, and director.
And director. As when I discovered you as an acting teacher, but I moved into your shadow as a writing student as well. In fact, your improv classes is,
Wait, you're fading in and out there, Josh.
I apologize. I know you as an acting teacher, quite moving as an acting teacher.
Okay.
Which do you like better? How do you like affecting your students as a writing professor or as an acting teacher?
Well, that's a hard question because it feels um, they both they seem similar, and
How are they
especially at the
similar?
level. Well, I'm sorry.
How are they similar?
Well, I feel like we're rooting around to try to get to some truth, some basic understanding of what it means to be human. Try to figure out the mysteries. You know, looking at ourselves, looking at other people, telling stories.
So you do both. You write and you act,
Well, I don't act so much
correct?
any longer. The last acting I did was a, a movie in New Zealand um, called Contract Killers, and I played a bad cop.
I saw that. You played a bad guy, you said?
Yeah, I played a bad cop. There's a funny story. Last summer, um, I don't know why, but I typed my own name into Facebook, and I found a Kerry Glaumsch living in Kenya, and I know that there's no other Kerry Glaumsches, and so I was a little perplexed by this. And so and it was an African woman, and so I messaged her and I said, hey, why are you using my name? And she was really apologetic, and she said, oh, I'm really sorry. I saw a movie that you were in, and I really liked your name, and so I started using your name. I was like, and I didn't even remember. I wasn't thinking of that Contract Killers movie, and I said, well, what was that? What are you talking about? What movie? She said, oh, you played this bad guy. It's a cop. It's like, oh right, okay. And she said, I'll change it back if you want me to. And I said, no, that's all right.
That's
Now there's
interesting.
two Kerry Glaumsches in the world.
Kerry Glaumsches in the world. There are no other
Yeah.
Kerry Glaumsches in the entire population of humans on this planet. That's hilarious. I That movie is actually streaming on Amazon right now for free.
Oh my goodness! Don't watch it.
I haven't seen it yet. I might check it out
I
tonight
haven't
just
either.
because. How is the experience? Is it a student film or was it a professional production?
It was some guys that, and I can't remember how they even found me. It was a fairly low budget movie, and they wanted to do an action film, and the guy who directed it, that's his thing. He's really hot for action movies, and I think that he's doing more stuff now. Um, but they were planning to shoot it for a really low budget in Wellington, New Zealand, and then they spent about an hour, no, about a year and a half doing CGI stuff after post production stuff. And so there's a lot of blowing up and people acting tough and um, you know that sort of thing, guns, fights.
So, in terms of acting versus writing, you don't do a lot of either. You do a lot of teaching, a lot of reaching students. More that's primarily your art, your
That's what
time.
it seems to be right now. Yeah, I started teaching so I could support my writing, and now I'm primarily just teaching and directing, and I have really only summers to do any writing. Last summer I adapted A Midsummer Night's Dream to 40 minutes so that we could do that at the Thespian Festival. But yeah, I'm just I try to do some just personal writing, but it's tough. You know, I need that expanse and that relaxed state of mind to do any writing, and it feels like I'm running right now.
So you're always tight. You don't have that writing space. You don't have that room to write, as Virginia Woolf would say.
Yeah, and I miss that. You know, I really just wish I could, you know, have a place where I read and write.
So, what's on the horizon for you then? Are you looking for that place to call your own, or are you still kind of traveling around? What's in Tampa for you?
Well, a lot of friends are in Tampa, and like I said, my mom's there, and she's not doing well, so I wanted to spend. This might be the last summer that I'm able to spend with her, spending time with her, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I re-upped one more year to teach down and direct down here, and then after that, I really don't know.
You're going back to Palm Springs.
To Palm Beach, yeah.
Oh, Palm Beach. I apologize. It's been so long since I've been to Florida. I haven't been back since I graduated in 2005.
Oh, well, you're welcome anytime.
I don't know if I want to go back, to tell you the truth. I'm so
Well, you should
finished with,
check out the Ringling Museum in Sarasota. It's a treasure.
and the new college is supposed to be pretty cool too.
Yeah,
Each other.
it's a good campus.
It's interesting because you just finished a screenplay too, according to your. Did you hear me?
According to my what?
Your website?
No, it's been a bit since I've written a screenplay. I've written a couple of stage plays in the last few years.
So you're constantly tinkering with words, somebody else's
Yeah,
words, or your own.
yeah.
When you write and when you're tinkering with these words, what is it actually that you're envisioning? A blank page. You're seeing a page already filled with ink. Are you blank stage, and how those words would fill that stage up?
Well, I don't know so much as far as writing screenplays or stage plays. It's not. Uh, it's more the characters rather than, you know, I think about the characters, and I think about the characters a lot, and then I just kind of let them do the talking.
Actor, an actor coming up.
I'm sorry.
Is that your training as an actor?
Say that again.
No, is that your training as an actor?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. You know, I mean, gosh, that's really tough to say. I mean, you know, as a writer that, I mean, I firmly believe that there is a collective unconscious or collective subconscious or a flow of a life unseen going on that sometimes we can, if we prepare ourselves, we can be lucky enough to sort of tap into. And that's, you know, that's the experience I have found of just sitting down, the discipline of sitting down and at a, you know, with a notepad or a computer or a typewriter, any writing instrument. And in that way, I think it's similar in acting, is that, um, you know, you've just got to show up for the work, and be an available conduit or instrument for this other thing to come forward.
So, yeah, I agree that it is showing up for the work. It is putting that pen in your hand or the keyboard under your fingers. If you're not doing it, it's not gonna come every one day a month or one day a week. And it's just, you have to sit there every single day. Wherever it is, you have to find it because it's gonna hide from you.
Yeah, And I guess, you know, I mean, I've talked to writers about this, and I've heard, you know, I feel like people tend to sometimes say that they don't have a daily discipline.
And I don't understand that.
Well, the two writers I've heard say that said that, uh, I knew them, and I knew that that wasn't true.
Did have a daily
So
discipline.
that, yeah, I feel like every writer I've known, and any writer that you read, and you know that you write. I mean, that's what a
Yeah,
writer does, and so
exactly.
you know, I mean, and in my experience, what separates somebody who is a writer and somebody who calls themselves a writer is that writers get it done. You know,
Yeah.
they actually there and do the work.
It was an article I read about the habits of writers in the past, like Charles Dickens, Eliot, that there was a time that they wrote and they felt comfortable writing. They couldn't just do
Yes.
it any old time of the day. It was you know, T.S. Eliot would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and he would write until 4 or 5. It was like, wow, I could do that too. That's when I feel most comfortable, was when the sun is, you know, about to come up. Like, that's normal. That's okay. I can do that with a cup of coffee in my hand. Or, you know,
Yeah.
Bukowski had to be drunk off wine at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when he wrote.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said. I
His stuff came out a little bit too perfect, right?
yeah. I mean, who knows? But yeah, that's why I've had a hard time. You know, when as I've been down here teaching, I wake up at 5:30, get ready to go to school and to teach and to direct, and so that's usually my time to write is mornings, and when I really have had the time and been disciplined, um, you know, I'll get up in the morning, fix some coffee or some breakfast, check emails, and then write for you know a good 2 or 3 hours.
See,
But I just don't
you
have the
can't
luxury.
stop it, can you? No matter where you are,
Well,
that's
I don't have the luxury to do that right now. You know, I mean, hopefully I can get some stuff done this summer, but again, I'm moving around a lot this summer, so we'll see.
if you did have the luxury, what would you be writing? Would it be a screenplay? Would it be a play? Or would it be, I don't know actually. What would you be writing?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? You know, I mean, I've still got some stuff I'd like to rewrite. I've got some screenplay ideas. Um, you know, I really enjoy writing short stories, but it's been a bit since I've written any. So,
And in terms of theater, when you're directing, do you consider that writing?
no, I don't.
No.
I no. I mean,
There's
that's
preparation involved with that. There's so much planning involved with that. There's so much hands-on, and
yeah.
my
That's
God, dude, that play that I saw, I only saw one play that you directed, and the amount of horror placement on that stage was amazing.
what
Way, I
play is
had
it?
known you for 2 years up to that point seeing that play. I can't remember the name of it, but in my mind, I can picture that stage, how beautiful it was.
Huh?
it's
Yeah.
it's mind blowing, honestly.
Well, it's a lot of work, you know, but and it's really different. For me, it's really different than writing or even teaching acting, and that is, it is so collaborative. And as you know, writing you're very alone, um, and directing, you know, I'm working with even at this private school where I am. I'm working with a scenic designer. I'm working with a sound designer. I'm working with a lighting designer, a costumer. So, and then the actors. So it's really, and I've learned as a director to be more collaborative, you know, rather than being so dictatorial or with that sort of thing. So yeah, no, it's different, but it also is storytelling.
Yeah, it
And
is 100%. I totally agree. And I don't want
yeah,
this conversation to come off as like a Kerry Glaumsch love fest because, I am a fan of yours. I knew you for 2 years and I became a fan of yours. But one of the things I noticed about you is that other people are fans of yours as well. And part of your process is that people start to happy. And I wonder if that works I wonder if that's something that you've developed, or is
what
that
is
just something that part of your personality? This
what?
thing where people want to work with you.
Huh? Wow. Well, that's really nice of you to say. I don't know. I'm not.
Observation. I'm not nice. I'm just saying something I saw.
Well,
I'm
no.
not a nice guy. I'm just saying I saw it and I'm pointing it
Yeah.
out. In terms of what I saw on that stage, I see people trying to please you. You're
Huh.
calling it dictatorship. You're calling it, you want to see things set a certain way. And people are like, dude, I'm going to make you happy. You know what I mean? They want to make you happy because they want to do good work for you,
You
story,
know,
and people want to help you tell that story.
yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's so much of making me happy or just being or finding, I really try to only work on plays that I really love. And and I would hope that everybody involved also loves that story. And so I think that there's that collaboration oftentimes the best times when that happens is when everybody's on board with a really beautiful or exciting or intense or some sort of worthwhile story that everybody wants to
Mm-hmm.
tell. And
Have you
this
ever
we
worked on a play where it didn't feel like the cast was on board with your vision? Maybe
uh,
that's a dumb question, but as it's not coalescing in the way that you felt, or have you ever not meshed with the cast and crew like you think you should?
hmm.
Or tell me that's a dumb question. If that's allowed
No,
too. So I can edit that out. That's fine.
no, it's an interesting question. It's one I have to think about, and I feel like for the most part, I feel like for the most part everybody's on board. I was working on a new play in Ohio, and
The play called again? I apologize.
I'd rather not say it because that was the
I
one
thought you
play.
said a title.
No, no, no. I was when I was in Ohio, and
Ohio, okay.
I had some actors that because I was working with a playwright and trying to put his vision on stage, and he was great with this collaborative effort, but the one of the actors in particular was not. He seemed to sort of have his own, I don't know what his own thing that he was doing. That's the only instance that I can really think of that.
That's interesting. And where you that's interesting in terms of skill. That's something you think you've developed, this communication style work, or is it just something that's always come naturally to you?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, because I didn't really start teaching or directing until around 2000, and so I don't know. That's a good question. I really I think it comes back to just having a passion for a good story, and and then people can feel that passion, and you bring people on board as a director. You bring people on board who are excited by that story, and then everybody it's like going on a trip or an adventure. It's
Yeah.
people who don't want to go. They're going to hang back and just do their thing. But if you build an interesting enough vehicle, you know, slap a really colorful coat of paint on a school bus, and people are going to want to get on and drive with you to wherever you're going.
Totally, I get that. I totally do. And I really find it interesting that you drive that school bus in an academic setting instead of, say, over here, or I don't know where else they do plays at in this country, but you know what I mean? Someplace professional.
Yeah, and it's a challenge sometimes, Josh. It really is. I mean, it's not as much of a challenge in academia because, you know, at universities where I've taught and directed, uh, you know, everybody's on board, everybody's supporting it. But, you know, I'm at this private, I'm the head of a theater department at a private school, and I've got to be aware that there's not only administration watching to see what's done on stage, but also grandmothers, grandfathers, little kids, little brothers and sisters. So I'm limited, yeah, by what I can choose to do at this time, and honestly, I feel like I'm going to run out of things uh, that I find interesting to do that are appropriate for all audiences.
For all audiences. But yet you've been all over the place. I mean, you have a place too, right? What's stopping you from being up here on off Broadway or off Broadway or Broadway audiences?
Well, yeah, I guess the work. You know, I mean, I feel like New York is such a young person's game in a way. You know, I feel like I would need to be there and establish myself for a few years before I could get noticed. And I don't know if I have that time or that energy at this
Yeah.
point.
Have you thought about it before? I mean, not I'm trying to talk you into the rest of your life or anything. I'm just discussing in my head. Have you thought about how that would work out in academia for the last 17 years, and you have been working with kids? Not that I was a kid when I met you. I'm, old now, but we're in New York, or more established theater professionals now who know of you, who are impressed by you, who would be maybe doing the stage management route, or professionally, who would know your name and be willing to maybe stick their. Have you thought about that?
Well, I guess I really haven't, I mean, to be honest. You know, I just
Anything,
New
or
York.
in a basement writing fiction?
Well, it just feels like New York is so expensive, so busy right now that I would, you know, it would be exciting as hell if somebody invited me up to direct something. I would go for it in an instant. But to live there as, you know, to find the quiet, uh, it seems a little tougher. But who knows? Yeah, I'm open.
I love
So
the chaos of the city.
anybody listening who wants your play directed, invite me up.
Absolutely, I would totally. If anybody wants Kerry Glaumsch to direct a play, he does some great work. I
Thank you.
wished I had that kind of reach. Also, what the real question I wanted to ask is, New York is busy. New York is expensive. New York is chaotic, and I don't know where the artists are living anymore. Rent skyrocketed. I mean, you can't even find efficiency apartments for under $4,000 a month anymore. There's real art being produced nowadays. Where are the artists? Where are the directors and the playwrights and the actors? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer to that. And when I go visit New York nowadays, I walk around and I think, how how do artists afford this? You know, and
That's my.
I go out to like Greenpoint or Williamsburg or something, and I see
They can't afford to live
walk.
there either.
Well, exactly, and I see people walking around with their, you know, their ratty T-shirts and stuff, and I think, how does this person afford to just live day to day? I I don't know.
Work at? I mean, is daddy paying your rent? Do you live 50 an apartment? Yeah.
It's a mystery to me. But I am more interested, I think, right now. I'm not that interested in New York, to be honest, anymore. I'm more interested in cities where people are going and making things happen, where they can afford to work really hard on their art. You know, and I'm thinking of places like Detroit, like Cleveland, like Pittsburgh,
Oh yeah, Detroit's a
like
good.
Atlanta.
That's a good place because that's a desolate city that's building itself back up. That's one of the only cities in this country that actually has a positive. What's the word I'm looking for here? They had a net, had a positive. I don't know. That is a good place though, in terms of
Which
population
place?
and Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
drove up there a couple of times when I was living in Ohio. You know, I was in Ohio for 2 years before I came back to Florida, and I drove to Detroit twice, kind of back roads, and it was really cool because you're driving through small town Ohio, farmland Ohio, where nobody really, it seems, has not been moving. People have not been moving there.
exactly.
And so it's pretty much untouched. And coming from Florida, where everything is a constantly new landscape, it's pretty great to see these small towns that haven't really changed a whole lot in 75 or 80 or 100 years.
When I graduated college in 2005, I moved up to a town called Huntington, West Virginia. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I'm aware of that.
um, it was desolate. You know, nothing there basically. You know, shops are closed all over the place or boarded up. There aren't very many new businesses.
Yeah,
There
I
are,
like that.
well, yeah, but the people are gone. It might be cheap to live, but there's no place that if you have no money, where are you going to get the money? And if you get a job, they're going to work you 40 hours a week and you're exhausted from being on the phone. So it leaves you, you know, the never ending question of how do you actually do the art, beating your head against the wall of where do you get the time and the energy to do it? That's
Yeah, and
what
I
small
guess
town America is now. You know what I mean?
yeah, but you know, if you find like-minded people, and again, like some of those cities, you know, I mean, I think Atlanta is a good example of a city that has really, you know, Atlanta right now, there's more film work going on there than just about anywhere. And the music scene is really vibrant. And for years, Atlanta has been, you know, it's not the cheapest city to live in, but
Mm.
it's certainly affordable. And I think, you know, and I feel like if you have, I mean, it was kind of like when I lived in Austin, Texas, in the second in the from I lived there from '96 till 2002, and it was still a really affordable, really interesting city to live in, and so it was a lot of people making things happen, and then that attracted a lot of people who came there looking to see what was happening.
Do you
And
think that 2001 destroyed the soul of that? Came down, it kind of erased the desire for people to actually try. You said 2002. I've been around, you know, I've tried. It just seems like jaded the last 16 years or so. People don't want
are
to
you,
try. They're mean.
are you speaking about Austin specifically, or
I'm
America?
speaking of our country specifically, but yeah, you can use Austin as a microcosm if you'd like.
I don't know if
When you were
2000.
there in 96 and 2001 happened and you left in 2002, did you see an attitude shift?
No, I think it was less 2001 than you know, less a year than I really think one of the things that damaged Austin was the Real World, MTV's Real World.
Really?
Yeah, because all of a sudden the secret was out, and it was like, wow, there's this cool thing that is affordable, and you know, it's the music capital of America, and there's a lot of film going on there, and so a lot of people in Los Angeles saw that, and they were like, "Hey, wow, I want to get in on that and go there."
When did the real world come out?
It was right around there. I don't remember.
Was it?
Uh, um, but it was right around that time, around 2001.
So what do? We're artists. We're young. We're graduating college. What do? We're actors. We're directors. We're playwrights. We're fiction writers.
You just
Mom
work.
and dad, do we go into their basement and set up shop, or what would you suggest to a 22-year-old kid?
Well, it depends how hard you're driven, and it seems to me that the people who are driven most are the ones who get the work done. And without that drive, you're not going to get the work done. You'll end up as a bartender, or as a server, or whatever it is you're doing in order to make money, so that you can work. But it's tough to find a balance. I mean, I feel for people. I don't mean to sound like a hard-ass monster or anything, but I do. I mean, it's just from my experience, the people I know who are most successful as artists are the people who work at their art, and they work and they work and they work and they work. Even if, I mean, I made friends with Dennis Johnson when he and I were living in Austin at the same time, and and he was one of those writers that I was talking about earlier. That he told the class, he was teaching my third year class, that, oh no, I don't have a discipline. But I visited him at his ranch in Idaho, and sure enough, in the morning he had a little cabin that he would walk out to, take his coffee out there, and start and write. And when I visited his house in Austin, he had set up a little. There was not an office space that he had in the house, but he had set up a little folding table in the laundry room with a little laptop, and he would sit, and that's where he got his writing done. So, one
He
of
wasn't
arguably
necessarily as proud of his writing or something.
no, it's
Maybe
just he was driven to do it. He had stories to tell. He had voices and words to say and to put on paper.
That he cut those voices off.
That he did what?
Cut them off just recently.
Well,
right?
that wasn't his doing.
What do you mean? Did I miss something?
No, he just passed away recently.
Yeah, didn't he kill himself?
No, it was cancer.
Oh, was it cancer? Okay.
Yeah.
Confusing stories.
He would not. He was very happily. He had found his paradise here on Earth. He was happily married, had a family, and had a lot of people that loved him, and a lot of people that he loved.
That's a good way to go. Being content and happy with what you have.
Yeah, I had emailed him when at one rough point in my life. I was in Tanzania teaching, and my marriage had dissolved, and I was really and I had been in another relationship, and that had fallen apart, and I was really heartbroken. And I emailed him, and I said, you seem like you got it. Like, you seem like you really have found the secret to happiness. Like, what is it? And I'm looking into my phone to see if I can find this answer. I don't know if I can. Maybe I can do it here on my computer. Yeah. What do you know? I'd like to read you how he answered it, because
I would feel privileged.
yeah. Let me find this. And I'm not going to read you the entire email.
Somewhat privileged.
Well, he was a hero. And, let me see if I can find this. He answered, he said, what the fuck you talking about? The only reason I seem reasonably content is I got everything I wanted. And I still want more. Now I'm going to skip a little bit of stuff. And then he said, but I feel a lot saner after I passed 40, and then saner and more philosophical and not so excitable after I passed 50. But mostly, I'm just pretending. So, you know, I've been drawn to people who back to what we first started talking about, and that is rooting around to try to find some sort of authenticity, some sort of truth, some sort of shared commonality and sense of belonging. And you know, if sometimes every once in a while you can put somebody's words on stage and bring it to life, or if you can put your own words onto a page and bring it to life, or if you can touch somebody teaching that they tap into that light or whatever it is that inside of themselves, and you see that light turn on. You know, what better thing can you ask for, really?
I definitely think that you are a good guy to have for our children nowadays who are going through college. It's selfish. I hope you keep doing it. I hope that,
Well,
huh?
thank you, Josh. I appreciate that.
I mean, it's selfish though. I mean, you're pushing out some really good artists. I feel like I wouldn't be the artist that I am without having you in my life, honestly. And whatever that means, whatever that means. I mean, it's not like I'm writing Pulitzer Prize winning novels. It's not like I'm making millions of dollars, but whatever art I do produce, I give you a tiny little bit of credit for, because inspiration to me for the 2 years that I met you.
Well, thank you.
I think you're good.
Well, thanks. I'm really trying, and you know, I went back to school again and got my second MFA. The first one was in creative writing at Texas, and then the second one was up in Ohio just a couple of years ago. And I was sending out applications. I went back to school to get the second MFA. The first one was in creative writing. The second one was in theater directing. And I did that primarily so I could get another job teaching at a university. And I had sent out over 36 applications. And then this school here sent me an email. It was through a friend of a friend, and they heard about, you know, my name or whatever. And so they said, hey, you want to come in for an interview? And then they offered the job. And one of the prayers that I do practice, and I don't know who I'm sending this out to, you know, some sort of higher power, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, you know, put me in a place where I can be of service to other people. And so I was offered this job at a private school teaching theater to, you know, high school aged students, and directing these sort of PG or G-rated plays. And I thought, oh my God, not this! Please put me somewhere else. but no, I think that it is. You know, it's a prayer answered in a way. You know, and sometimes my ego gets the best of me, and I think, oh, I should be, you know, working at a professional theater, or I should be trying to sell screenplays, or should. But the fact is, I'm here, and I have this great opportunity to really try to you know, turn on some light bulbs. And, you know,
what is the major, when you look at the stories that you're trying to tell on stage? Yeah, they might be G-rated. Yeah, they might be for kids. That you can tell yourself beyond that? Are you learning something that maybe you can pass along, that it's not just a G-rated story, but it's X?
Well, here's a really good example. They told me last year that I had to direct a musical, and they canceled the production of Cabaret because they felt like it was too risque.
Oh my God.
And yeah,
Oh no.
and so I had a musical director, and he and I came up with three choices of plays to direct, and ultimately they seemed all about the same to me, and I can't remember all three choices, but I told the musical director, you pick, you just choose one of these three, it doesn't really matter to me. So he chose Grease. So I had never seen the movie Grease, believe it or not, before last year, and I watched it and I thought, well, this is not a very good message to send, especially young women, that change yourself so you get the guy,
Yeah.
right? And I couldn't understand why its popularity, other than this sort of rosy sense of nostalgia. But I thought about it and read it and read it and read it and read it. And when I direct something, I have to find a reason for directing it. I have to find thematically what is it that I want to say with this. And that was a tough one, but I did finally realize that there is another inherent message in that play, and maybe everybody else has figured this out, and maybe I'm just telling everybody what you already know, but it's a sense of belonging, and it's a sense of finding of because the play really starts out with people kind of like insulting each other and pushing each other, shoving each other, punching each other, and in the end, it's we go together, right? Like a Ramalama Ding Dong. And so ultimately, it's about acceptance and finding your sense of belonging and finding your place, which is a beautiful message. And so that's really what I focused on in telling that story.
Well, that's fantastic. Did they record these at all and put them on the internet, or are they just kind of go into the ether and?
Yeah, no, that's on the internet. That's on YouTube. You can watch the whole production on YouTube. It's American Heritage School, Greece, and I don't know what else you would type in, but
Productions
yeah.
on there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it, but it was we had a good photographer, a good videographer, and um, the students say, they tell me that it's popular and that people watch it, and there's a bunch of hits on it. So
Probably
yeah,
more than I'm getting. American Heritage Production, right?
yeah, it should be American Heritage, Boca del Rey.
Okay. Um, a lot of people are saying about Greece nowadays that the beginning of the movie, both oh God, what's the protagonist's name? And Sandra Lee. Oh, no, well, anyway, they both die. They drown. That's of the story, and everything that happens afterward is basically just their death dream.
Huh.
Come to the oblivion of the ether, basically.
Well, that's an interesting take on it. I
Right?
don't know. I don't know thematically what you would be saying with that.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know either.
so
Just something I picked up on the internet. I was wondering if you were going to go in that direction. Then I was going to start picking your brain. How'd you do it? What'd you do? But I like it
no,
because it is a together. It is a story about being ostracized and then accepting that there is really no difference between you and me. We're basically, got the same thing running in our veins as everybody else. It's very important nowadays. We all feel like we're different than each other. You're Republican, I'm Democrat, you're in the White House, and whatever.
yeah. No, I think a message of acceptance and a sense of belonging is what we all need right now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, not a bad message to send out.
So what else do you have? You think that we needed to cover anything else in this conversation?
No,
Thing?
I'm going to put my clothes in the dryer, put a frozen pizza in the oven, finish packing my bags, and then hit the road. So
Kerry, thank you so much for your willingness to have this conversation with me. I know you were a little bit nervous about it, and you know, it means a lot to me that you were able to sit down and have a conversation and do this and put
Well,
yourself on my channel, and a person that, you know, you didn't make me a writer, but you definitely added to the flavor that is the Brian Aiello that writes fiction.
well, thanks. I appreciate all your kind words, and it's a real honor for you to have me on your show. I appreciate
No,
it.
thank you. And if you want to come back, definitely shoot me an email, and we'll have that happen. Otherwise, and safe travels up to Sarasota or Tampa, actually.
Cool. Yeah. All right, man. Well, take care of yourself, and we'll talk soon.
All right, we'll do, Kerry. Bye-bye. And that was Kerry Glaumsch. I'm so happy that he agreed to be on the show. Next up, I have Lex San. He is an illustrator and graphic artist. He was a fantastic conversationalist. We really got into the idea of plagiarism and how he feels about artists borrowing from each other without citing each other's work. You know, iTunes, Stitcher, follow, comment, like, do all that good stuff. Until next time, thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.